for tonight's shave, I have a brush that's new to me, and from the looks of the bristles, it looks pretty new in total. It's a Zenith. I haven't had a Zenith brush before, so this was a great add. It's a boar brush, obviously, and we'll see what happens. It's a B10. Based on the images I found online, it seems to match. So, boars need to be soaked before you shave. Now, you can kind of get them really wet and then just let them sit, but I prefer to put them in a soaking cup, kind of like this. The other items are this soap from West of Olympia. I have not had a chance to try their base yet. As you can see, it's a clone of the Polo Red scent, and it was made, I assume that means Pacific Northwest. Wet Shavers Meetup in 2018. And let's take a look at it. Kind of a reddish beige. Smells just terrific. I can't wait. Good stuff. The blade is my venerable Nacet. And what we have is, today is the 89th shave for this guy. Been doing really well lately in this very razor I'll be using tonight, the black and gold Fatip Piccolo. This has the open comb, base plate of course. So let's go ahead and put this on. The Piccolo handle is a solid, not a hollow like the Grande and the Gentile Testina. Alright, I'm going to take the blade, just drop it kind of casually on the top cap, let it settle. Not going to try to do any aligning right now. And then just drop that on there. I find that this seems to have a pretty good chance of getting the alignment done right the first time. Let's check it. Now a little bit too much on one side. And there we go. Ready to go. All right. Shaving bowl. I can let that boar sit for maybe 3 minutes or something. Yep, and it looks like we've got that well taken care of after I rinse my face off. The water is cold tonight. I have been scooping my soaps for a pretty long time, and I have a good idea about the right amounts to use. 1/4 teaspoon is usually a good amount. But lately I'm just doing the bowl lathering, the bowl loading technique. And what I've been doing lately is shaking most of the water out of the brush. And as you can see, there's not a lot, just a couple of drips coming out. And I don't believe this has been lathered at all. So here we go. And let's go for like a 20-second load. So start now. Starting at the 10-second mark. So let's just see. At the third, oh man, I can smell that coming up. That smells great. 5 more seconds. And there we go. Grab some of the excess. Put my brush down. Now I'm going to clean up the puck while it's kind of wet. Like I said, I just have not tried any of West of Olympia's stuff. I've heard it's very good. All right. So we will take our bowl You could go right to your face, but that's not really my thing. I prefer the bold lather. Pretty stiff bristles here. I have familiarity with Semogue brushes, and I've had one of the Semogue Owners Club just take about 6 uses before it was very competent with a bold lather. Another one took 15 uses, so that's what I'm used to. I don't know if Zeniths are the same or very different. I know there's one brush out there, I don't know if it's Omega or Zenith, where people are like, you have to use a shortcut method like cold water soak or something like that for like 3 days to make the brush work, otherwise it takes forever. We'll see if that is Zenith or Omega. We've already got some kind of splay there, that's nice. So now let us add going to go ahead and add a teaspoon of water because we know it's going to need at least that much. Good grip on this handle. The handle design here, kind of large, nice and round and bulbous on the front, and it's not just a circle. You see it's elongated, more like half of an oval. I'm finding that nice to hold on to. The bristles feel pretty stiff. If you didn't know, boar brushes, the bristles absorb a lot more water during the soaking process than badgers do. Badgers don't really absorb very much at all, and so they really need more. The soak is much more important to a boar. And that's why they may be very stiff before you actually use them, and you're like, this can't be a shaving brush. Nope. Once they get wet, they start to get loose. Start to move some. Maybe I should have loaded for longer. You know what, let's do that. This is a new brush. A lot of times stiff brushes just take more time. So let's load for 10 seconds longer. And what I'm going to do is just add some water onto the soap. And let's look, we started at 11. So we'll go to 21. And there we go. Since this bowl has ridges on the bottom, that's why I'm doing the back and forth motion, then the up and down motion, as well as the round and round motion. Yeah, that's looking much better. One of the traits of a good brush handle is, are you able to hold it comfortably when it's wet and soapy? I've got a couple of the basic whipped dog brush handles, the short ones that, man, you've got to get a death grip on those things. If they get soapy, then your hand is going to be hurting because it's just so slippery. This is less of a problem with face latherers. The lather's looking much better. Obviously, our quantity is improving. There There's a brush bristle. New brushes, it's just fine if you lose a bunch of bristles in the first month or two. It's not a big deal. Take my syringe, fill it back up again. Maybe I'll just need to add, this is half a teaspoon I just put in. This might be all, or I may put in another half. Show you the lather here, kind of big. It's still fairly firm. Okay, let's look at the peaks. Pull it up out of there. Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. Kind of long peaks. A little bit floppy. Man, there's some ways of holding this handle where these sharp ridges right here are not comfortable at all. I think I am going to add a little bit more water. With this kind of that has gathered on my fingers, I can kind of do a test. Oh, that's nice. Couldn't really feel the ridges on my fingerprints too well. That probably bodes well for this soap. Now there is some elasticity. Some people do not like to take it this far. I usually find that that's about where I want it. And but it will probably thicken just a hair as I make sure that it's mixed properly. What you may have seen just now might have been a more wet section of the lather. Man, the scent on this is just so good. I think I remember smelling Polo Red at some point, and I think this is kind of spot on, so that's cool. Yeah, you can see how soapy the handle is. It's gotten a little bit uncomfortable with all the sharp edges. But it'll give me a good way to test a Zenith. Now take a look at that lather. Look how elastic that is. So let's just see how that works on my face now. And I'm going to go ahead and rinse one more time. These rinses are very bracing because our local water right now is cold. All right, let's see what a Zenith feels like. Definitely has a lot of backbone. The tips are not super soft. Very scrubby. Of course, bore knots change a great deal between, at least with the Simogs, you know, from use 1 to use 20. Big changes. So you kind of expect something similar with this brand as well. That's just the way boars do. They have a much more severe break-in point. And because of the stiffness, they don't hold quite as much lather. which is why I do like to bowl lather them at first, so that I make sure I have enough lather for the shave. Sometimes with a stiff new boar brush like this, you almost have to remake your lather. If you're a face latherer, you almost have to remake that before every pass, and I find that kind of annoying. All right. Well, darn it. Piccolo, shave number 89. How about that? This is not quite as comfortable as it has been. Wonder if the lather's not protecting too well, or what. Feels a little rough. Not really focusing too much on good technique with this first pass. I'm just knocking down the big hairs. Rinse. Alright, so now we will take the brush, go back into the lather and grab up some. Do it all again. The good news is it's a very workable brush, you know, right from the start. Some boars are not. You almost have to do practice lathers with them or something first. It is, you know, a lot of backbone. All right. Second pass, cross grain. And one thing you can do as an experiment is try to eliminate, see what happens if you skip that with the grain pass. You might be able to just shoot right to a cross grain pass. Now I'm thinking a little bit more about technique than I was on the first pass. All right, and it's done. And now the third pass. But if you can eliminate that with the grain pass, you might be able to get to a good finish quicker. Like maybe try 2 with the grain cross grain passes, with them each being from opposite directions. The display on this brush is pretty good right off the start. Very kind of rough because of all the backbone, the tips just aren't soft. Maybe this is the brand that needs a lot of work. the techniques is just to make up a lather and leave the lather in it. As long as that lather has lanolin, for instance, then it can really soften up your brush, get it ready for the next time. Okay. Okay. You know what I think happened? I didn't align my blade properly, and that's why I had to report a rough feel, because my blade was parallel, but on one side it was overhanging just a little bit more than on the other side, and so that was an aggressive side, whereas the other side was much more mild than usual. And now they are both more equal now, and it feels much better. Little user error there. Not the soap like I suspected. It's a non-shave area at the bottom there. Looking good. Okay, so that's the third pass down. Rinse it off. All right, so now it's time for that fourth pass. It's a neck only. So, since this since this lather is very wet, very hydrated, I dabbed my neck so it didn't have any excess water. Man, what a good scent. Really like this. Plenty of lather. All right, now strategic, because this area here is trouble for me. Watch the angle, feel the cutting. My neck hairs go sideways, so the either going up or going down right here is a cross grain pattern. Right here, if I'm going to try a little buffing here, kind of staying in the same area for a second. That's less important. That gets shaved pretty well. This little zone right here is the troublemaker. I'm going to pause you and inspect. Not a very good result at all. Very different than yesterday's. Same blade, same razor, but different soap. I am guessing the problem is that the first two passes I didn't have the blade set up right. And unfortunately that is an issue with the Fatips. It's just sometimes it's a little aggravating to set them up. Sometimes it just takes 4 seconds. Sometimes it takes 2 seconds. Sometimes it takes 20 or 30. And but because they're such a good budget razor, still very much a lifetime razor. They're solid brass. The coating is often nice on them, and so I think it's worth it. If that's your budget, then I think it's a great price for a lifetime razor, and they perform really well. So I think it's worth learning, and I'm guessing if you were to have this kind of razor, use it every day, then you would kind of get a little technique for doing it pretty quickly. Now that's interesting. I'm not getting very much residual kind of slickness on my face. Once the soap is rinsed away, I'm dragging on my face right now. So that's interesting. Maybe this soap doesn't quite have so many butters and, you know, things like that. Maybe that's what you're looking for. All right, so I think I'm experiencing a little irritation right somewhere around here, but I think it actually may be more to do, maybe I have a blemish coming in or something nutty like that. So I think I'm going to try another touch-up pass in this area. Tonight, very interesting. I really kind of had to work this area hard, maybe generated a little bit of razor rash to get what I got, and but it's a good shave. So probably some kind of error in my technique. May have to do this, try it again. I don't know if I keep the same soap. I mean, to me the soap feels great. Let's see here. First of all, let me show you how much we have left. Probably a pass left in the brush, and then, you know, I'd say maybe 2.5 passes left if you combine the brush and the soap. I mixed this pretty wet, not a lot of cushion, but very nice slickness. It's possible it may have been too wet, but I don't think so. All right. There we go. I'm going to rinse and start cleaning up. There are still a good many hairs that are showing tips that have a little bit of length to them, a tiny bit, and so it's not a great result today. However, there are a lot that were cut down nicely by that last touch-up pass. But I'll have to try this. We'll have to see if it's a soap or I think, you know what, my skin may have just been kind of roughed up by the brush. This may kind of be brush burn that is accelerating the irritation. So that could be it as well. Maybe try the same setup tomorrow with a softer brush and see if that, you know, makes all the difference in the world. Sometimes if I feel irritation here, I'm less likely to try to get the area really well. You know, trying to protect myself instinctively, if you will, subconsciously perhaps, and so sometimes then I don't end up with a good shave. All right, let me clean up. So this B10 has kind of a big loft. Like here's a 22 millimeter. What was this one? Frank shaving, and see it's taller than that guy. So they might be trying to make up for the rigidity of the hairs by adding a little bit more length to it. So I'm just going to kind of spread out the hairs, let them air out. I'm so tempted to use, to just get my Mitchell's Wool Fat, which is a very lanolin-based shaving soap. I really like it, kind of a linen scent instead of something manly. But it's got a lot of lanolin, and so I will soften up a brush by creating a lather with that and then just letting it sit for 24 hours. But I want to just be able to say, I want to be able to know this a little better instead of using a shortcut method. To be able to say, well, yeah, I had a Zenith brush, it took 20 uses, but then it finally worked out great. Or I didn't notice any change in 20 uses, and so I had to switch to a shortcut method, you know? So I'm just going to leave it. So I don't really like, see these sharp ridges right here, and even this here, as long as the handle is dry, they're comfortable. However, when it's wet and you're slipping around and you're having to grab on a lot tighter, they are irritating to me. All right, so let's find a room up here. So how much soap and water did we use? So this is a stiff brush. In a way, it's not really fair to compare, except for the purposes of knowing that this is a stiff brush and this is what's happening. This is what's normal for the first or second use of this kind of boar brush. I used 3 teaspoons of water. I started out with a lightly wet brush, and I ended up with a cumulative 30 seconds of loading from the tub. So there we go. All right, we are done. The little irritation that was there, I'm going to say a 2 out of 10. Pretty much gone. I really think it might have been brush burn. So we'll just have to see. But the shave of the closeness of the shave was is very good. Unless you're at a job where there's a lot of scrutiny, somebody right up in your face. But otherwise, you know, I did mention how many tips there were and a little bit of length, but that's still a pretty good shave. And a little off today, but still, that means a good shave. So I loved the scent on the soap. The performance seemed to be good. The slickness, it took a lot of water, stayed together. The soap didn't break down. The lather didn't break down when really hydrated nicely. And so I'm really happy about my first try with West of Olympia. We'll keep on going with the brush. Boars are just like that. I had one where I hated it for the first 12 uses because it was just so stiff, wouldn't hold any lather, and I couldn't even mix a bowl lather with it. I had to just go into the puck each time to reload. And so in that sense, this one has a leg up on that one because I was able to bowl lather with it. Anyway, so this is today's shave. My first try with a Zenith brush, the B10. I didn't really like the handle design, but since this is the only Zenith I have, I'll just keep rolling with it, and we'll see. We'll see how the knot, the tips, and the backbone develops after more uses. So there we go. Hope there was something here for you. Take care. Have a good night. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves.